And you are live.
Welcome back to Ask the Supervisor. I'm your host, Matt Lownes. Of course, I'm joined with Peter Van Scoyoc. We are live at Town Hall today. It's always fun when we could do it in person together instead of Zoom or whatever we use now. Peter, how you been? How was your weekend?
I've been great. What a wonderful weekend. The weather has just been a little unseasonably warm.
That's one way to put it.
Summer in November. It's a
I was
little
sweating.
strange. I mean, we took the screen doors off about a
So did we?
week or
Yeah.
two ago, and now I wish they were back on. I slept with the windows open at night. It was really nice. It was like a nice summer breeze all night long. It's a little unsettling, enjoyable, but unsettling.
That's what I was saying earlier.
Climate, the climate's definitely changing. We're seeing that all the time and expressed in so many different ways. I know it's going to get a little bit cooler, but even that cooler weather coming I don't think it's going to be as cold as I remember November's being.
Oh yeah. Growing up, Thanksgiving could be like 40 degrees, 30 degrees, maybe 50, but it could also have snow on the ground. And today went outside for lunch. I got some pizza in Wainscott. I was sitting outside and I was sweating. I mean, it was 75 degrees out.
Snowvember is a thing of the past. I mean, it's just going to be warm and sunny and maybe a little rain here and there. November is our rainiest month here on average.
I don't think the average person would know that.
But this year, I don't know, which is a little concerning because we're coming off of a drought.
Mm-hmm.
Chatfield's Hole, I drive by on my way home. It's just a few inches left in the pond. It's drying up.
Do we have any idea of I believe it's
the deficit,
Farmer's Almanac?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the Farmer's
winter.
Almanac. I don't know what's predicted, but anyway, it's just really unseasonably warm. There's still leaves on the trees. I remember Halloween usually was about the time when most of the leaves had fallen off the trees already. A couple of Octobers ago, we had actually all green trees. So the trend is for warmer falls.
Yeah, no, the leaves itself fall later. I've noticed.
Yeah.
In the past few years, even this year, like I was expecting to do the gutters maybe this past weekend. Obviously, that was not happening.
That's too early.
Yeah, I'll be waiting at least.
Who knows?
Almost Christmas. At this rate, the gutters may get done before Christmas tree and ornaments.
You can string the lights right as you clean the gutters, I guess.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. Let's get into some stuff here. Tomorrow is the big day. It's Election Day 2022, the midterms, nationally speaking. Before we get into the three propositions, and you could add in information, you could give East Hampton Town's part in it. I just wanted to ask, is there anything you wanted to mention about the election, just overall?
Well, I mean, I think the election's become much more contentious. You look at the ads now, I think everybody's probably just really tired of seeing the ads. Every candidate seems to be busy trying to trash the other candidate rather than, explaining how they would actually deal with the problems that they're blaming on the other candidate. How would they resolve those problems? And, I think it's unfortunate. And I think we really need to demand that candidates explain what they're going to do for us and not just trash the other side. We have serious problems that we're facing. We need to find solutions for them, and name calling isn't a solution. And I think it makes it more difficult for people to make a choice as to whether or not the candidate really is up to the task if they can't come forward with solutions and ideas.
Early voting was very successful out here from what I've heard through all the different people I know that early voted. They said it was easy. It wasn't disorganized. So that's always good. I'm very interested to see the youth voting numbers, 18 to 22-year-old range. I've seen a lot of stories recently on across the country about the surprising numbers from early voting from the youth. It's definitely going to be interesting. We have three propositions on the ballot this year. I'm just going to quickly read them, and you can add any context or anything you'd like. Proposition 1, remember to flip your ballot over. We've learned this over the past few months. is the Clean Water, Clean Air, and Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act of 2022. If passed, the act would authorize the sale of New York State bonds up to $4.2 billion to fund the environmental protection, natural restoration, resiliency, and clean energy projects to reduce the impact of climate change. We don't have to give our opinion on whether or not to vote. I'm just letting people know about the propositions.
Well, you should vote. That's my.
Please vote. I meant vote yes or no. Please, yes, please vote. It's not our prerogative to tell you to vote yes or no for any of these propositions. Proposition 2, which I'll be brutally honest, didn't know about until this week, would amend the Suffolk County Charter to set a term limit of 12 years in total, served consecutively or non-consecutively, for the offices of the county executive and county legislator. Do you think that's fair as a politician?
So, there are term limits. There's a law for term limits. It's 12 years in the county, but apparently the way it was worded is you can't serve more than 12 years consecutive is the way it works out. I don't think that was the intention. So
you
this
could hop back in.
This is, you could resign in your 11th year and then run again.
Do you think that's fair?
They're closing a loophole. Well, personally, I feel like, I don't think we should have term limits.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Personally, I think that, the ballot box should decide people's term. And if the people really want someone to continue to serve, they're doing a good job and they have gained all that additional experience and expertise in the position, why not let the ballot box decide? I mean, in some ways, I think it's taking away a person's right to vote for somebody who they might want to vote for.
It's a good point that I never thought of. Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. East Hampton currently doesn't have term limits. Again, we've seen, in fact, I don't know if there have been very few examples, I think, of people who've served on the town board that would have been beyond 12 years.
Yeah. It's rare.
So it's rare. It's rare anyway. I just think let the ballot box be the determining factor.
And then, of course, we have Proposition 3, the 0.5% real estate transfer tax for the creation of the Community Housing Opportunity Fund. As we both know, I've dealt with a lot of this. You've obviously built it and helped make this ballot proposition. Is there anything you wanted to add for the 0.5% real estate transfer tax?
Well, I would have hoped by this point people would know that this was on the ballot and that they would be going out to vote. It's an important question to be voting on, and we'll have the ability of creating a revolving fund that will be available to help ease the financial strain of housing out here. And that's from, low income to middle income. We know that the income level now for affordability is around 174,000 per person and 203,000, I think, for a family household. So this affects not just, the unemployed and low income. It reaches all the way up into, middle income, certainly. And that affects every aspect of our community, from the ability of the hospital to hire and retain nurses, municipal employees, school districts, staffing, businesses. So it's across the board.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. I'm very excited to see the potential of any of these three, if not all three, getting passed. A lot of people are often confused about proposition wording, but I think the town did a wonderful job of making it very clear.
There are no double negatives.
Yes. It turns out reading comprehension when it comes to ballots is no one's fault, because some of these are made very confusingly.
I think all three propositions are actually worded pretty straightforward and
great,
understandable. And if you want more information on the town's on the referendum for housing, Proposition 3, you can go to the town website at ehamptonny.gov and type in community housing plan, and you can kind of see more what this is all about. It's a 0.5% transfer tax paid for by the purchaser of real property. It doesn't affect people who already own a home or already living here. And it would afford the ability for first-time home buyers under a certain income cap to gain assistance in making a down payment. The town would be able to, have an equity share in housing. Would it help us to partner with other private entities to build housing for employees, people who live and work in East Hampton? This is for people who live and work in East Hampton.
Yeah, it's going to be great. If it passes, we shall see after tomorrow or maybe the next day too. But once the results are in. Now, we were talking about the wonderful weather earlier, and while it's a bit concerning, it was nice for the installation of the pollinator garden. It made that process a lot nicer, given it wasn't 20-degree winds whipping at you in November as it could be. The pollinator garden installation had its ceremonial groundbreaking for community pollinator garden at the end of October, I believe, was when it this week / last week.
Yeah, and then this past Saturday, we did the initial installation.
Perfect.
So it was laid out. It's right here outside of Town Hall, the entrance to Town Hall. We partnered with a private not-for-profit, which is Change Hampton. There were, I think, 40 or more high school students.
Wow. Here
involved with helping us do the installation. That grassy area that you just saw in the picture was edged, and cardboard was laid down to smother the grass and weeds, and then compost and mulch placed on top of that. That technique is called the lasagna technique, because you're basically making layers, kind of like you make lasagna. Think of the cardboard as being the noodles, and the compost and mulch as being the sauce. There were some initial shrubs and trees planted. I want to thank Mariah Whitmore, for donating plants for this project. And there were, services provided for free from individuals in the community. And again, we had teachers and students here. I was here working for a couple hours.
It looks great.
Kathy Gonzalez was here, Kate Rogers, and others. So it looks great now. There are a couple of red bud trees planted, which will bloom pretty purpley blooms in the springtime.
Perfect.
They attract pollinators. There's a black tupelo tree planted, some shrubs like summer sweet, and in the spring, a lot more perennials and annuals will be planted, flowering plants and other grasses, decorative grasses. The idea is to demonstrate to people that you can have a beautiful landscape without it being all lawn, and it won't require mowing. It won't require pesticides and herbicides. It will beautify your property. And by using mostly native plants here, we're basically also supporting native pollinators, insects and birds that pollinate our plants, which are a critical part of our ecosystems here. And it's just trying to bring awareness to this issue. As we have more and more development, we are losing important species that are part of the food chain, the food web that really provides for us as a top of the food chain, organism. And so we need to make sure that we're taking care of our local environment in that way. So this is something everybody can do. If you're interested in learning more, again, go to the town website at ehamptonny.gov. There'll be a link there on the pollinator garden as well to Change Hampton. You can see what that organization is all about.
They do some incredible work. Just for some background info, the 3,000 square foot garden was designed by Abby Clow Lawless. And as Peter said, public-private partnership. And the garden is meant to inspire and educate visitors as to how to incorporate similar plantings into their own landscapes, as Peter said. And Peter, will the town, I guess the one question I have is, will the town offer some sort of lecture or class on how to properly plant these things, as if people wanted to, if they came and saw it and say, I want to do this in my house?
Sure. I mean, that's something that we can be doing. We'll be posting, again, information on our website. This item will probably turn up on our green East Hampton page on the website.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, it's called a segue.
Yeah, the great segue by the supervisor. The East Hampton Town launched their green page on their website. It's still under construction, but it's very close. Green East Hampton is what it will be called, highlighting accomplishments in environmental protection and sustainability. We'll describe town projects and policies that work to protect our ecosystems. The East Hampton Town was the first certified New York State climate smart community on Long Island, the first ever. That's a pretty significant thing, and is a state energy research and development authority clean energy community. And the town also received a Clean Energy Leadership Award from the Long Island Clean Energy Leadership Task Force and Sustainability Institute at Malloy College and Rockville Center. That must have been one big plaque.
So we have received, a lot of recognition for our work. Some of it's really groundbreaking work, literally outside. But we've tried to be at the forefront of dealing with the issues of our environment. And this page will give, the public an opportunity to see what the town board's actually accomplished and been working on, because we don't spend as much time talking about what we've accomplished as we do accomplishing things. We just have really worked hard, but this is another way that people can see what's being done and maybe ways that they can also get involved with similar types of projects.
Yeah, I've been here at LTV for longer than a year now. And one thing I could certainly say is whether it's, the new lighting with this, with the Kelvins, and you talk about the pollinator garden, all the different sea life ventures the town has. The town has gone green, lack of a better term, for the positive. I mean, and I know that that's personally important to you and the town board. You guys, I'm pretty sure everyone grew up in this community or around this community. To you personally, how important is it that the town continues to stay green?
Well, I think, that's how we protect our quality of life, our beautiful surroundings, and we've made a lot of accomplishments and progress forward. There's so much more to do.
Mm-hmm.
There really is. Just the way, we look at how houses are built, trying to become more energy efficient and greener in their construction. I think people have to recognize that, utilizing resources, the more resources you use, the more impact you have on the planet, and the fewer resources there will be for others who need them. So, that's something I think we should all think about and, how much do you really need? Take what you need and leave the rest.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly put. Let's move on to the next topic, the John Behan Memorial Park. And if you just bear with me here, I'm just going to read out some stuff. Former town assessor John Behan, who died last year, was a 9-term New York State Assemblyman. The small piece of land at the northeast corner of the Westlake Drive, Flamingo Avenue intersection at the entrance to the Montauk Dock area will be renamed after John Behan in a ceremony this week on Veterans Day. Coincidentally, Mr. Behan was also born on November 11th, so it's also his birthday, which is pretty cool. A U.S. Marine serving in Vietnam in 1966, Behan lost both of his legs above the knee to an anti-tank mine while defending his patrol from machine gun fire. In 1985, he made the long trip back to return to Vietnam, leading a state delegation to retrieve the remains of American soldiers, and another subsequent visit to bestow a donation on an organization that was clearing the land of unexploded ordnance and landmines. Mr. Behan was beloved by everyone, stating he was reelected with the largest majority of any assemblyman in the state history, winning 70% of the vote in 1994. I was unable to confirm this, but I trust him. My question to you is the town. Oh, I'm sorry. Additionally, the town board also voted to designate parking spaces in the lots throughout the town for veterans and active duty members of the armed forces. I don't want to conflate the two, but I wanted to add that given Veterans Day is upcoming this Friday, Peter, what impact did John Behan have on the East End here?
Well, he has significant impact. His impact was here, but beyond East Hampton. We were talking a little earlier about term limits.
Mhm.
Well, here's a perfect example of why
Yes,
I don't really support term limits. Here's an individual who, really was heroic in his representation and support for his country in a conflict overseas, regardless of how you feel about that conflict. And it was turbulent times. People who are willing to sacrifice themselves for, a cause, for our country, that's heroic. But what was even more heroic about John Behan was how resilient he was after he sustained these terrible injuries and lost both his legs. That may have slowed him down for a little while, but he came back with such a zest for life and accomplished so many things. What you didn't mention was that he got involved with paraplegic Olympics, and that he, led the effort on the U.S. team, and he, was decorated with a number of Olympic medals as a paraplegic as well. He served as town assessor, as you mentioned, and then became a beloved state assemblyman. And you mentioned that he received 70% of the vote. Can you imagine one candidate getting 70% of the vote in a state?
It's unheard of.
In that kind of a level of election. It happens very infrequently. It's happened here in local elections.
Not at that, but you don't see that.
I think the first year I ran, I had 71%. But it was just 1 year.
Yeah.
He was 9 terms, and beloved, and had a very warm personality, had a great big hand, warm handshake.
He was also
pleasure.
He put that
honor to have met him.
Massive sign up in Montauk by the dock.
Well, it's a fairly large sign. Welcome to Montauk, fishing capital of the world sign.
It's pretty historic.
He did that on its own. It's kind of a historic sign. So that is the area which we've secured the land from Suffolk County. They owned the road right of ways around that, and working with Maryland and his family, that we've worked to secure that as town property for the dedication of a park memorial to him. The sign will be redone, refreshed. There'll probably will be a few benches, a little seating area, and a memorial marker there, as well as a flagpole.
Awesome.
So there will be a soft groundbreaking on Veterans Day. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend. I will be my parents' memorial service is being held down in Washington, D.C., but I'll be there in spirit. We named one of our Marine Patrol rescue boats after John Behan a few years back before he passed away.
Oh, nice.
I'm really glad that we did that then. He was able to attend that ceremony where the boat was dedicated, and we got to honor him and thank him for his service and acknowledge his accomplishments. So this is another way to keep the memory of a man alive who really contributed in many ways and affected a lot of people, including our current assemblyman who started out under his tutelage. Fred Thiel, I believe, was an aide in his office.
Sounds about right.
When he started, I think, that influenced Fred
easily
into to go forward with his public service.
Looking forward to seeing that this Friday. If you happen to have the time to go, please do. What time did you say that was at on Friday?
I don't have the time.
It'll be on
the memorial at the green here at the Hook Mills at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
They meet at the London Jewelers, and they'll parade down to the Hook Mill.
Awesome.
And there'll be a short solemn ceremony there.
Cool.
But the soft groundbreaking, I think, will be after that later in the day, but we'll try and get that information to you and publicize it as soon as we hear.
Cool. We have about 4 minutes here. And so I guess in 4 minutes, I know you wanted to bring this up before the show ended. There's going to be a presentation next Tuesday, the 15th, on the airport.
Right.
What-
So we'll
yeah.
have an update. I know many people are interested to know what the status of the airport is, and what the plan is to moving forward to address ongoing concerns about the airport. Currently, under the judge's ruling, we're not allowed to impose any restrictions at the airport, and we're limited as to how we can manage the airport. And, I think we'll be talking about all of our options, which would include appeal of the judge's decision. That'll be discussed, as well as, a lot of other aspects. One of the things that was cited in the judge's ruling was that he determined that we didn't proceed with the state environmental quality review as we should have. It's known as SECRA.
Yeah.
We made a negative determination under SECRA for the closing of the airport and reopening process, because that in itself wouldn't have changed any of the restrictions itself. And we were prepared to do a SECRA study of the actual imposition of restrictions to determine what impacts they might have and assess them that way with real data.
And
the judge said that we should have just done a desktop study of what the proposed restrictions would have caused in terms of diversion to other airports and whatever, rather than use actual data. We should have done that ahead of the closure. So we will be discussing, conducting a full environmental impact study ahead of
how long does that take?
restrictions. That could take 6 months to 9 months to complete. There's a whole process where we would first do a scope of the issues to be looked at. Once the scope is finalized, the data will be collected. But much of that data we already have. So we've been collecting data for years, so that we can turn around fairly quickly. There's an opportunity for the public to comment on the proposed scope once the scope's adopted, to comment on what's been the data that's presented as part of that draft environmental impact study. There's, take comments on, how we got the data. Did we overlook something? Should we have done something else? There's that whole exchange.
Is it
public process? So that it's likely to take 6 to 9 months.
So it's safe to say, at the very least, right now, November 7th, at least 6 months, nothing's going to change at the airport.
I don't think that's quite safe to say. There are other actions that are also pending in federal court that could, impact the lower court. Again, this will all be discussed.
Oh, yeah. I'm
during
looking
the work
I'm looking
session. So if people are interested to know, the very many permutations of what's going on, what can happen, that would be a good starting point. And we'll have our outside consultants and outside counsel joining us and as part of that presentation. And that will be at 11 o'clock on November 15th.
Awesome. So again, if you are looking for the next most updated presentation on the airport, please tune in to the town board work session, November 15th, Tuesday at
11 a.m.
11 a.m. I know that a lot of callers have come in. I've produced some of the meetings. Jason's back at the studios, produced some of the meetings. So just be aware. Call in. You're allowed to. That's your right. Peter, it was another great show. Time always flies. We never end up actually going through the whole agenda here or whatever I put together. But thank you for coming on, and hopefully we can keep doing this in person.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for coming to town hall for this episode.
Of course. And thank you, Jason, in the back.
And thank you,
Take
East Hampton
care.
Town, for always supporting people calling in and having their voices heard. You guys rock. Thank you.
Thank you.